Hi, I'm Liz and I'm an art educator here at Maitland Regional Art Gallery, and today I'm sitting amongst the artworks that are a part of the exhibition called Collecting in Colour, Art and Fashion, and we have all of these amazing garments on loan from the Australian Museum of Clothing and Textiles. I'm going to be running you through an art making workshop today inspired by this big bright work behind me called Zang by George Barker. It's acrylic on shaped canvas made in 1969, and it's a great example of a painting that can also be a sculptural object, and it's a hard edge abstraction painting. So the work is made up of lots of different shapes, and the artist has shaped the canvas to reflect the colourful shapes that he's painted on top of it. This work reveals itself as lots of different types of artworks. If you stand and have a look at it from the side, you can see one thing, and it's a very different artwork when you're standing in front of it. The artist has made definitive choices about the colours that he's used in this work. Which colour stands out to you the most, and why do you think that that is? What kind of emotions and different personalities do different shapes hold? And this artwork is called Zang, due to the big lightning bolt shape in the centre of the work. How do you think that the title affects the way that you read the work? What kind of energy does it bring to the piece of art? What does this artwork make you think of, and how would you describe it? Do you like the artwork? And maybe have a think about why or why not. So today we're going to be experimenting with sculpture and paper and making a 3D object. What you're going to need today is a ruler or something to draw straight lines with. That could be a book or a piece of cardboard. Some glue, so just a glue stick is fine. Some scissors and a bunch of coloured paper. So card is really great, but whatever coloured paper you can get your hands on. You could also use patterned paper if you like, it's completely up to you. And then just a pencil. Make sure that you have a nice clear space to work in, and let's get started. Step one is going to grab an A4 piece of paper. I'm going to choose purple today, and I'm going to take my ruler and just trace a line down the centre. So I'm going to cut this piece of paper in half, grabbing my scissors. So you'll have two longer pieces of paper. You're just going to put one to the side and grab your ruler and your pencil. And we're going to start to make some lines across this piece of paper. So working diagonally, starting from one end, working to the other, and just moving your ruler as you go. Have a bit of fun with making different size triangles. So some might be really squished and some might be really quite wide. I'm going to make one super wide one. You could have some straight lines. There we go. And then I'm simply just going to fold along these lines. So moving backwards and forwards with my fold. So I'll fold one way, flip my piece of paper over and fold the other way. And the lines are just there as guides. So don't feel like you need to fold exactly where those lines are drawn. We're just creating a variation in shapes. Beautiful. And this is the starting point of our sculpture. This is where you get to play around with colour a little bit. So make some executive choices about which colours you would like to use. You might like to group some colours together and see how they work. Make decisions based on these groups. So I might choose a yellow for some vibrancy and maybe a red in there as well. Perfect. The next thing that you're going to do is just cut some strips using this paper, the same width as your 3D sculpture. So you might just want to grab your pencil again and just make a little mark on each piece. And then grab your scissors. Then just cutting down your paper to the right size. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. Now's the fun part, grabbing all of your pieces of paper together. And what we're going to do now is just cut some random triangle shapes. Oh, that should be enough. I'm going to pop those over to the side. Now that you have your cut shapes, your coloured sculpture, the next part is you're just going to flip this over so that you can't see your graphite lines. So you'll be working on this nice fresh piece. And it's just a matter of finding pieces or finding shapes that fit into these shapes in your sculptures. You can always trim them down to size. It's a bit like putting a puzzle together. So I'm just going to cut this one down. Make sure you have your glue handy. And just popping some glue on the back. And then fitting it into this shape. And I'm going to keep a border around my shapes just because I would like to see some of that purple showing through. It's quite a mindful activity. Really take your time. Great, I think I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to move any excess shapes that I have to the side. And then you might find that your sculptures become a bit flat because of pressing down when you're gluing. So you can just re-crease any of those edges to bring it back to its 3D state. Once you're happy with the placement of your shapes and you feel like this part is complete, we're going to put it onto a backing piece of paper. I'm going to choose a nice crisp white piece of paper just to make my colours pop even more. So this is the part where you kind of figure out what shape you want your sculpture to be, which you might have the bigger flat bits touching the paper. You can always refold your lines. So if they're folding one way, you can fold them back the other way, seeing what kind of interesting shapes that you can make. All right, I'm going to add some glue in this top section here to secure it to my white page. I'm going to be very conventional, put it in the middle. And then I might add some glue to this larger area. Gently press that down. And then pop some glue under this corner here. Cool. And then we have a 3D sculptural object. It's nice and vibrant. And you're welcome to make as many of these as you like. You'll probably end up with quite a few leftover coloured shapes. So you could make a few, put them together, see what kind of large artworks you can make. Here's 2 different examples that I've made using the same colours but very different outcomes. You might like to have a play around with making a couple, using up all of your pieces of paper, and then having a think about the following questions, again in your own head, or you might like to discuss it with someone. Which colours work well together, and which colours make things stand out the most? So for me, when I look at this one, it's the contrasting colours that jump out at me, so the yellow against the purple. When I look at this one, it's the pink against the green. Have a think about what kind of energy your artworks hold. Maybe if they were a flavour, what might they taste like? Or if they were a season or a time of day, even. Did you enjoy making your artwork? Maybe hard edge abstraction is something that you want to experiment more with. As an extension of this activity, you could always recreate this artwork, and instead of using coloured paper, you could colour each section with acrylic paint or gouache. I hope you've enjoyed having a closer look at Zang by George Barker and making your own 3D sculptures with me today.